The ZH warship Dominator's pride hung in Earth's orbit like a blade poised at humanity's throat. Commander Vexther stood on the bridge, his three eyes scanning the primitive planet below with barely concealed contempt. After conquering 473 worlds across 12 galaxies, Earth would be another effortless addition to the ZH collective. "Initial scans complete, Commander," reported his tactical officer. "Technological level barely adequate for atmospheric flight. Military capability laughable. Estimated resistance time 4 planetary rotations maximum." Vexther's mandibles clicked in amusement. 4 rotations. Generous. These humans still use chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons. Begin standard subjugation protocol. What the ZH didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that 2 humans were about to change everything. Dr. Anna Kowalski pressed her palm against the cold glass of the observation window at CERN's Deep Space Research Facility in Geneva. The alien ship gleamed ominously against the star field, a configuration of impossible geometry that defied conventional physics. As humanity's leading quantum physicist, she understood better than most how outmatched they were. "The readings are insane," she muttered, studying the data streams flowing across her holographic display. "Their hull is phased across multiple quantum states simultaneously. Our weapons will literally pass through them." "Then we don't use weapons," came a voice from behind her. Anna turned to find David Chen, the facility's chief AI architect, standing in the doorway. His dark eyes reflected the glow of her displays, and despite the apocalyptic circumstances, his expression remained calm, calculating. "David, we don't have time for theoretical discussions," Anna said, frustration bleeding into her voice. "The UN is scrambling every military asset we have. In 48 hours, those ships will start leveling cities." "Exactly," David replied, stepping closer. "Which is why we need to think like humans, not like them." Anna frowned. "What do you mean?" David pulled up a chair, his fingers already dancing across his tablet. "I've been analyzing their communication patterns, their ship movements, everything we've intercepted. The ZH are perfect, Anna, perfect formation flying, perfect mathematical precision, perfect tactical execution. And that's bad because perfection is predictable," David said, his eyes lighting up with that familiar spark Anna had seen countless times during their late-night research sessions. "They've conquered hundreds of worlds using the same playbook. They think in algorithms, in optimal solutions. They've never faced chaos." Anna's mind began racing, connecting the dots. Humans are chaos. "Exactly." David pulled up a schematic of the alien vessel. "Look at their shield configuration. It's mathematically perfect, designed to deflect any attack from any angle with maximum efficiency. But here's the thing about perfect systems. They have no redundancy, no adaptation for the unexpected." Anna leaned forward, studying the shield harmonics. "You want to introduce quantum uncertainty into their shields." "Better," David grinned. "I want to weaponize human unpredictability." 72 hours earlier, the ZH had transmitted their demands: complete surrender, submission to collective processing, and the transfer of all planetary resources. The UN had responded with defiance, but privately, every world leader knew the truth. Humanity's combined military might couldn't dent a single ZH vessel. But Anna and David weren't military strategists. They were scientists who had spent the last decade pushing the boundaries of quantum computing and artificial intelligence. And now, in humanity's darkest hour, they had a plan so absurd it might actually work. "You're suggesting we build an AI that thinks like a human?" General Morrison, head of Earth's Combined Defense Initiative, stared at them as if they'd lost their minds. "We've tried that. Every predictive combat AI follows optimal engagement patterns." "That's because you're training them wrong," David explained, pulling up lines of code on the war room's main display. You're teaching them to win. We need to teach it to be human, flawed, irrational, creative. Anna stepped forward. General, the ZH-Kari's entire strategic framework is based on game theory, optimal decision trees. They've analyzed every human military engagement in our history and built counter-strategies for all of them. But those were rational conflicts. What you're proposing is deliberately irrational warfare, Morrison said slowly. No, Anna corrected. We're proposing human warfare. The kind that wins against impossible odds not through superior firepower, but through sheer bloody-minded creativity. The general was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. You have 36 hours. After that, the ZH-Kari begin their assault. Anna and David worked without sleep, fueled by coffee and the knowledge that 7 billion lives depended on them. The AI they were building, they called it Prometheus, wasn't designed to be smart. It was designed to be human. They fed it not military databases, but human history's greatest upset victories. David versus Goliath, Hannibal's elephants crossing the Alps, the Trojan horse. Every time human ingenuity had triumphed over superior force through sheer audacity. But the key component was quantum entanglement, Anna's specialty. If we can entangle Prometheus with their tactical network, she explained, her hands moving rapidly across the quantum processor interface, we can introduce uncertainty directly into their decision matrices. David integrated the final neural pathways. It won't just confuse them, it'll make them doubt themselves. The ZH-Kari have never experienced indecision, never second-guessed a tactical choice. 24 hours before the assault deadline, Prometheus came online. Status, David asked. The AI's voice emerged from the speakers, not mechanical but oddly human, with a slight Italian accent David recognized as similar to his grandmother's. Confused, terrified, and absolutely furious, so basically ready for a fight. Anna and David exchanged glances. It was working. When the ZH-Kari fleet descended on Earth's major cities, they expected terror, surrender, or futile resistance. What they got was chaos. Prometheus didn't coordinate Earth's defenses through optimal tactical positioning. Instead, it did something the ZH-Kari had never encountered. It bluffed. Fake quantum signatures appeared across the globe, suggesting weapon systems that didn't exist. Military units retreated from strategic positions for no apparent reason, only to attack from completely illogical angles. Nuclear submarines surfaced in the middle of engagements, broadcasted poetry in 17 languages, then submerged again without firing a shot. On the bridge of Dominator's Pride, Commander Vexther stared at his tactical displays in growing confusion. This makes no sense. They're acting irrationally. Perhaps it's a sophisticated deception algorithm, suggested his tactical officer. Run predictive analysis. Already attempting, Commander. Results are contradictory. Every scenario we model suggests different human responses, all equally illogical. For the first time in 3 centuries of military service, Vexther felt something he didn't have a word for in his language. Humans called it uncertainty. Meanwhile, Anna monitored the quantum entanglement feed. It's working. Their decision trees are fragmenting. They're actually hesitating. David watched Prometheus coordinate the chaos. Now for Phase 2. Anna initiated the quantum cascade. Through the entanglement link, Prometheus didn't just confuse the ZH-Kari tactical network. It infected it with the most dangerous human trait of all, imagination. Suddenly, ZH-Kari commanders across the fleet began considering possibilities they'd never computed before. What if Earth had hidden weapons? What if this was a trap? What if humanity had allies they hadn't detected? What if? The perfect algorithmic certainty that had conquered hundreds of worlds began to crumble under the weight of human doubt. Commander, Vexther's tactical officer reported, his voice wavering. I'm detecting multiple phantom threats, or they might be real. The probability matrices are collapsing. I can't determine. Make a decision, Vexther commanded. I don't know which decision is correct. Those words had never been spoken on a ZH bridge before. The final stroke came from the most human source imaginable, art. Prometheus, having absorbed humanity's cultural database, did something no military AI had ever done. It composed a symphony, not a weapon, not a strategy, just music, and it broadcasted on every frequency the ZH were monitoring. The composition was mathematically impossible, deliberately violating harmonic principles, creating beauty from chaos. To the ZH who thought in pure logic, it was like staring into madness itself. What is this? Vexther demanded as the alien cacophony filled his ship. Anna watched the ZH fleet's formation begin to waver. It's humanity, she whispered, in all our glorious, irrational, creative chaos. Within hours, the ZH fleet withdrew. Not because they were defeated militarily, but because they'd encountered something their perfect logic couldn't process, the fundamental unpredictability of human nature. 3 days later, Anna and David stood on the facility's observation deck, watching the last ZH ship disappear into the void. They'll add us to their databases, David said quietly. Mark us as too unpredictable to conquer. Anna smiled, exhausted but triumphant. Good. Let them tell every species in the galaxy. Humans can't be calculated, can't be predicted, can't be conquered. Not because we're stronger, but because we're beautifully, chaotically human. Prometheus's voice came through David's tablet. You know what the best part is? They'll spend centuries trying to understand what we did, and they never will. Why not? Anna asked. Because understanding humans requires being a little bit crazy, and they're far too logical for that. As Earth began to celebrate below, 2 humans who had saved their species with nothing but quantum physics, artificial intelligence, and sheer human audacity, allowed themselves a moment of hope. The ZH had underestimated humans. They'd thought humanity's weakness was their irrationality. They'd never imagined it was humanity's greatest weapon. That was their last mistake.